Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we save some flower seeds. So let's go. I don't know about you, but I absolutely love saving my seeds from lots of different plants. The biggest reason is I save a lot of money when I do that. In fact, I've been saving seeds from a bunch of plants for a number of years. I have a playlist that shows you how to collect the seeds and store the seeds for lots of different plants. What I'll do is put a link to that playlist up above as well as down in the description below. Definitely check it out if you want to save the seeds of plants, because I've done it for a number of plants and I've shown you how to do it. So we're going to start this video from collecting the seeds from this beautiful plant called sweet alyssum or Lobularia. It's an annual here where I live, and I've been growing it from seed for a number of years. It comes in a lot of different colors. The two main colors that I have in my yard are either white, or I have one that's also a purple and white color. It is mid-September. This time of year, a lot of my flowers are starting to slow down, especially my sweet alyssum. And even though I was really good about pruning back my alyssum during the season so that it could keep blooming for me, so that it stayed nice and compact, this time of year I've let it go to seed because I want to collect the seeds from the plant. It really is a pretty plant and the pollinators go crazy over it. When it comes to collecting the seeds of alyssum, you usually want to collect the seeds not from the top of the plant, but you're going to find the seeds near the bottom of the plant, at the base of the plant. And that makes sense because the plant starts blooming down here and then it continues blooming up to here. But the old spent blooms down here have now gone to seed. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this one right here, and I'm going to show you what I mean. At the very top, you can see that there are still flowers there. As we follow it down near the bottom, so I'm pointing to a couple of brown colored seeds. That's what you're looking for. However, what I'm now pointing to is where a seed most likely was released. There's a base, you can see it's like papery color, and there's no brown seed in the center. So oftentimes what I like to do is I just like to collect a whole bunch of these. I don't want to go after each individual seed right now. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to pick a whole bunch of basically flower stalks that look like this, and then I'll show you what's next. And I want to show you I have a whole bunch of alyssum in different parts of my garden. So this is another area where I can take some seeds. And at the front of my house, up along my front walkway, I have even more of this white alyssum. So lots of white alyssum where I can collect the seeds if I want to. We're inside now, and I want to talk about a few things. When it comes to collecting seeds, you can always collect seeds not only from your garden, but other people's gardens as well. So always have your eyes open. Have bags as well as markers handy so that you can label whatever it is that you're collecting. The biggest thing I want to say is when you are collecting seeds, make sure that you don't let the seeds just sit inside of the bag for too long, because they can rot, especially if the seed pods are wet. Many times I'll collect seeds inside of Ziploc bags, but right when I get home, I then take them out of the bag and I'll lay them on something like a piece of paper, just so they can dry out for a few days. In fact, that's a misconception, I feel, that people think they have to collect the seeds once they're fully dry on the plant. They don't have to be fully dry on the plant. They can be wet. Just make sure as soon as you bring them inside, lay them out so that they can properly dry before you store them. Another thing that I try to avoid is I try to avoid collecting the seeds when they're not fully ripe on the plant. In other words, if the seeds are not mature, I don't want to collect them yet. I want to wait until they get mature on the plant. And that's the tricky part. When do you know that a seed pod or a seed is ready for picking? That's why I have individual videos showing you how to collect the seeds from different plants and what to look for. So look at my playlist, and I try to give you the best close-up pictures showing you what to look for. And even if, let's say, these seeds that I collected today I feel are pretty dry, it doesn't matter. I'm going to let them sit on a piece of paper for about a week or so, and then at that point I can go ahead and start putting them away in their bags for storage. All my seeds get stored in a cool, dark, dry location. That way they stay the most viable. Some people like to store their seeds in the refrigerator. You can do that if you want. I've never done that and I've never had a problem. Seeds do lose viability over time. And what that means is they are less likely to produce a plant as the years go by. That's why when I store my seeds, I like to put the year that I collected the seeds, just so I know how old or how fresh my seeds are. If the seeds are on the smaller side, I'll often use a bowl, and on top of the bowl, I'll put a kitchen strainer or a kitchen colander, and that way I can separate the non-seed material, which is called the chaff, from the seed. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I've found that that comes in handy, especially when you're dealing with small seeds. You'll notice that the stems are green. The thing you're looking for is you want to make sure that the seeds that are along the stem are brown color. I have a bowl here with a kitchen colander, so I like to use this because the seeds are on the smaller side. And I started collecting some of the material that was at the base of my plant, just basically seeds that it had dropped, and that's what's in here. After you collect your Alyssum stems, you just want to shake them around. That way you're releasing the seeds as well as possibly the flower petals, and that's okay. And we can go ahead and just try to release more seeds this way by shaking the colander. And now I just want to show you what we have left in our bowl. It's a mixture of the small brown seeds as well as some of the non-seed material. I could let this dry for a week and I could store all of this if I wanted to, just the way it is. And that would be perfectly fine. And I'll be honest with you, I normally don't care to separate it much more than this, but I'm just showing you, if you wanted to do this, you would start to basically pick out your seeds. And there are also different types of strainers that you can buy that are different grades for being able to separate your seeds. Since I'm just a home gardener and I'm not selling these seeds, it doesn't bother me. I don't care if I have a mixture of seed and non-seed material. But I'm just showing different options of how you can do this in case you just want to be able to not store as much material other than just the seeds. I'll say this in many of my videos, but it's amazing how each seed creates one plant. And when you think about it, the average home gardener usually doesn't need more than that. And we have way more. If I was just to take all this, and again, because it doesn't bother me, I'm going to go ahead and just mix it all up because I know that there are plenty more seeds in that mix there. And when the time comes for me to sow these seeds, I don't separate the seeds from the non-seed material. I just sow all of it the way it is, and only the seeds will germinate. I'm just going to make a bag, so it's going to say Alyssum, and we know that this is the white one. And we want to put down the year that we collected the seeds. I like to put my seeds on a folded piece of paper, and the reason is after about a week, once these have dried, I can use the paper to funnel the seeds off of here and to get them into my bag. You can use a paper bag, an envelope, whatever you want. Some people have said to me, won't a plastic bag not be good because it would cause moisture to happen and the seeds to rot? As long as your seeds are dry, this is not a problem. I've been doing this for a long time and this works best for me. I like to use small bags like this because I have a bunch of seeds that I collect and it's easier for me to store them this way. I couldn't even imagine how much it would cost to buy this many Alyssum seeds. And you saw we really didn't collect that many branches or I guess stems off of the Alyssum plants. If I was to actually go through all of the plants in my yard, well, I wouldn't need that many seeds. This is a ton of seeds right here. So let's move on to the next seed. Here we are at the front of my house, and I have a couple of container pots. They both have some beautiful Alyssum in them. These ones are purple and white mix. I did buy these seeds, but guess what? I'm never going to have to buy them again. And the reason is, today's the day we're going to collect their seeds. Work smarter, not harder, right? Since I'm at home, it actually makes sense for me to just take these cuttings that we're getting, these little clippings, and put them right inside the colander. It's one less step. But again, if I was at a family member, friend's, neighbor's house, or even at a local park, I wouldn't have probably my colander in my bowl. So in that case, I would just be putting these in a Ziploc bag, labeling the bag, and then when I get home, I would then take them out of the bag and let them dry. When you collect Alyssum seeds, just know that many of the seeds have already come out. They've already fallen out. And I already showed you what it would look like when you have a seed pod that was ripe, but the seed has come out. But as long as you take enough clippings here, you will have more than enough seeds. Of course, the big thing is with seed collecting, you have to wait until the plant has created those ripe seeds. So sometimes it's just a matter of being patient and playing the waiting game. I definitely want to collect a lot of the seeds from this plant because I just don't have any in my inventory of all my seeds. For the purpose of this video, I'll just show you how I collect some of them, but I want to collect more of these. And before we go inside and I show you some close-ups, I'm going to bring you to my raised vegetable garden where I have a lot more of this plant. So pretty. All right, let's head over there. Here we are where I have my raised vegetable garden. And these are tomato plants that have started to go by. But that's not the point. I just wanted to show you how pretty these purple flowers really are. It's such a beautiful alyssum. And alyssum's not just pretty because of its flowers, it actually attracts a lot of beneficial insects into the garden, which is why I actually put these plants in this specific space of my yard, because I knew that, and they're just so pretty anyway. We have the flowers at the top, and right beneath the flowers, see the little green things? Those are flowers that have gone by, but they're green. They have not produced any seeds yet. As we start traveling down the stem, you can see right there, that little brown thing, that is the seed. And trust me, they're small. I am zoomed right in. So I'm moving my hand all the way out so you can actually see how small that seed is. So here are the purple and white alyssum plants, and we want to collect the seeds from them. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just moving around the little trimmings that we cut. And when I do that, sometimes the seeds pop over on the side. It's bound to happen. So I'm doing it on a surface where I can actually see the seeds pretty easily, and I'm just picking them up. But there are so many seeds, it really doesn't matter. I can go like this, just to shake things up, and then like this. So we can go ahead and just take the seeds out of this bowl and I'm going to put them on a paper to dry for about a week. Now remember, this video is just to show you my process for collecting the alyssum seeds. I do have videos that show you my process on how to sow the alyssum seeds and then how to take care of alyssum seedlings. I'll put playlists to my seed starting videos down below. I encourage you to go through those videos because there's a lot of good information that you can find. Just like my white alyssum seeds, now that we've collected this many of the purple and white alyssum seeds, I really should never have to buy any more seeds again. You might see sometimes when you collect seeds, little bugs crawling around. That's inevitable. That's just part of what happens when you collect your own seeds. You can do as you wish with those little creepy crawlies. But look at all the seeds. It's so important to store your seeds dry. It's also important to make sure you label whatever you're going to put the seeds in. Otherwise, you might forget. All right, I collected all these seeds, but what did they go to? Or I know that they're alyssum, but were they the white ones or the purple and white ones? So I went ahead and created a bag, and I laid it on here so that in about a week when I'm ready, I can funnel all the seeds and non-seed material into a labeled bag. Calendula is such a pretty flower, and it's also another flower that's very beneficial to have in your garden for a lot of different reasons. Now, this calendula is just a seedling that appeared, and I didn't move it because why not? Sometimes it's nice to have those little happy surprises. I want to show you my process for collecting the seed off the plant. However, I don't want the plant to fully go to seed right now because I want it to keep blooming for me. It will bloom very well into the end of summer, early fall season. So come on in for a closer look. I'll show you my process for collecting the seed as well as deadheading it. Just look how pretty this flower is. Here we are heading into early fall, and who doesn't love this color during this time of year? These are flower buds. We're not going to touch these for right now because these will eventually bloom for us. Same with this guy over here. I bet it's going to bloom probably tomorrow or so. This guy is all done blooming, but we need to wait. It hasn't even started to create any sort of seed pods in it. But it will create them once the orange parts go by, and it'll start creating it at the base here. And here you can see that the seeds are just starting to be formed inside of the seed pod. They're green, they're not ready for us to harvest yet. But we don't want to harvest them either because, like I mentioned, I want to be able to have this plant bloom for me for a while. So for that reason, we're going to go ahead and deadhead it. To deadhead it, we're just going to follow it past this part right here, and we can deadhead it right at the end of the stem above a set of leaves. It's up to you how far down you want to deadhead it. The lower you deadhead it, the less leggier the plant will be. In fact, I'm looking at this one here, and this one here. They all are together on one branch, and I'm noticing there are no flower buds on this one branch. So for that reason, I can take it down a little bit further and cut it right here. Because again, the plant does start to get leggy, and I don't want it to be very leggy. Same with these guys. These have gone by, so I'm going to follow them down and just cut them over here. Now, if you want to collect the seeds from your calendula, you don't want to be deadheading it then. You want to make sure that you let the plant go to seed, or you can deadhead parts of it so it keeps blooming for you, but then make sure you leave some of the seed pods on there so you can collect the seeds from the plant. Hidden right behind here is a perfect seed pod. You want to wait until the seeds inside of the seed pod have started to turn a brown color. And there's that fine line of waiting but not waiting too long, because if I wait too long, what's going to happen is this plant is going to release all the seeds and then I can't collect the seeds from it. So let's go ahead and remove the seed pod. And see the difference? The one on the left, they're still green. So now that I've pulled it off the plant, it's no good. I can't just wait a week for these to turn brown. At this point, I'm going to have to throw that away. So you want to make sure that you're waiting for the seed pods and the seeds to turn brown on the plant before you harvest the seeds. And if you wait too long, eventually this will open up and it will release all the seeds. When I brought my calendula seed pod in, some of the seeds fell out, and that's bound to happen when the seeds are nice and dry. And I do have videos that show my process for collecting more calendula seeds, so you'll find that in that playlist linked below. I'm just shaking any of the seeds out of the seed pod. There were a few seeds inside of the seed pod that weren't quite ready yet. They were more of a green color. But the ones that are ready, they're falling right out. And again, I can't stress this enough. Each one of these seeds will create a calendula plant. So we have more than enough right here. I want to show you these things right here. These are not seeds. These are basically part of the seed pod. So sometimes that might fall off and you might think that that's a seed, but it's not. The seeds are hidden on the inside part of that. So like if I open this up, a seed just fell out. They look very similar, but this right here is a calendula seed and this is a non-seed material. If you have a hard time distinguishing between both of them, it's better just to save them if you're not quite sure. But I'm just showing you a close-up so you can see the difference. So we're going to label that calendula. It's an orange color. It does come in a couple of different colors, but usually orange or yellow. They might be white ones, I don't know. And then the year we're collecting these seeds. When it comes to storing it, I'll definitely store the seeds, and if there are a few pieces like this that are non-seed material, it doesn't hurt. I can always store that, and then I won't store this. I can throw this away as well as some of these other pieces up here. I have some seeds here that I collected the other day from a local park. They are a type of salvia and they are a red color. I have a video, in fact, that shows how to collect the seeds from salvia plants, so check that out in my playlist. This time of year, I'm very busy not only collecting the seeds, but then also putting the seeds away for storage. So that's what we're doing here. Because a week has gone by, these seeds are dry and they're now ready to be put away for storage. The seeds are pretty small. They are a black color. If they were white or green, then that would mean they're not ripe yet. But these are definitely good, so they will be viable and they'll produce plants. So let's just open some of these up. Some of them have seeds in them. Some of them have already dropped their seeds. I'm not anticipating too many. What I like about salvia is it's actually a very easy plant to propagate from cuttings. Now this salvia is an annual salvia. This is not the perennial salvia. In the park where I collected these from, they actually did not have many seed pods that were ready for collecting. So that might be all we get, but I'm just opening up each of these and checking to see if they have any seeds in them. But normally this is what it would look like. So it was a red flower, and what happens is if you don't get the seeds in time, they drop out. And a lot of times you can look inside and you might see, usually it's 4 seeds that would be hidden in there. A couple of seeds that came out of that one. I just like bringing you along, showing you what am I doing in my garden. And the great news is that we will be done with this then. This will allow me to use this paper for another plant that I collect the seeds from. Not bad, 7 seeds. When you think about it, how much is a 6-pack of the annual red salvia? And we have 7 plants there, which again, I can take cuttings of it and double that amount. But I also am planning to collect more seeds when I go back to that park. And then I can store the seeds in a cool, dark, dry location. Let's seal that up. And look at all the Pelargonium or Zonal Geranium seeds that I've collected over the last few weeks. That's quite a few right there. They're definitely not the easiest plants to collect seeds from, but they're very rewarding when you collect their seeds. And I've shown you again in previous videos how to collect the seeds from Pelargoniums. They're in these little type of, I don't know what you even call them, little capsules that you need to open up to release the seed. Two seeds equals 2 plants right there. I love this time of year. It's like a challenge to collect as many seeds as I can. I have so many seeds and I will buy seeds, but I prefer to collect them when I can. The last one that we're going to do are some zinnia. I have some orange colored ones and they're shorter variety. And you can see the size of the bag. It's a larger bag because I collected these from a park and I had a marker on me and a bag on me that day. I labeled it. As soon as I came home, I took them out of the bag and I just laid them on this piece of paper. So it's been a while, they've been drying and they're ready for me to collect the seeds from them. So let's just break it apart with our hands. When it comes to collecting zinnia seeds, the size of the seed is going to vary depending on the variety of the seed. What I've found is if you collect the seeds from a dwarf or a short variety of zinnia plant, then the seeds that it produces will be smaller. Whereas if you collect the seeds from a much larger zinnia plant, then the seeds that get produced are much larger. And I'm just showing you the inside a little bit. You can see some of the little black things in the base there. Those are the seeds. So I'm zooming you in a little bit closer. There's a lot of non-seed material in here, but that right there is a seed. I'm just bringing it in closer so you can see it. And when you touch the seed, it's going to be hard. If it's like bending very easily, then it most likely is not viable. If it's more of a light color, like a very, very light color, there's a chance that it might not be viable. I will always say collect more than less. It's better to have as many seeds as possible. Worst case, they're all viable. Or you're going to have some that are viable and some that are not. When it comes to zinnia seeds, I do prefer to separate the seeds from the non-seed material, and the seeds are larger, so they won't usually fit through a kitchen strainer. You don't have to do this though. If you don't want to separate them because you collected a ton of zinnia seeds, you could just put them in a large bag, like let's say a bag this big or larger. Maybe all you plan to do is sprinkle the seeds in a large space in your garden. Well, if you sprinkle all of this, only the seeds will germinate. And so nothing is lost. Anything that's a non-seed material, it's just going to sit there and it'll compost on the ground. So don't stress out too much when it comes to separating the seed from the non-seed material. And that's true with any plant, really. For me, it just comes down to storage space. If I store these small seeds in a small bag, it takes up less room because I collect so many seeds. So I'm not going to go through and separate all these out right now with you, but I just wanted to kind of show you some of the things that I'm doing when I'm inside just working on my seed collecting and seed separating. And remember, smaller zinnia plants produce smaller seeds. Larger zinnia plants produce larger seeds. You can collect the seeds from annual flowers, from perennial flowers, from biennial flowers. You can also collect the seeds from your vegetable plants. It is such a fun thing to do, but remember, if you care about the plant that gets produced from those seeds being identical to the parent plant, then it's important to collect the seeds from open-pollinated or heirloom plants. Plants that are considered hybrid will most likely still produce seeds for you. But when you sow those seeds, the plant that gets produced may not be identical to the parent. I've done that before, for example, with dahlias. And the plant that gets produced is a fun combination. I really love the element of surprise. I always like to share that information because it's a question that gets often asked. But I will tell you, when it comes to a lot of these annual flowers that I collect the seeds from, very often the plants that get produced look just like the parent plant. So I don't worry about it too much. Let me know in the comments below if these videos are inspiring you to want to collect your own seeds, or let me know what are some plants that you've already collected seeds from or you're planning to collect the seeds from. Until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.